What's up, guys, and welcome to another video of Dev Talks with your host Traven, where we talk about everything engineering technology wise. And in this video, we're actually going to be diving into, looks like Google got a dub. We've been covering this for a while now, and they finally exited out of this, and they no longer have to sell Chrome. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and let's dive right in.
Back to that breaking news from Google, a court ruling they are not required to sell Chrome. Let's get to Mandeep Singh of Bloomberg Intelligence for more context here. You can see that the shares are spiking in the after hours, Mandeep. How surprising to see this is this?
It is surprising because Judge Mehta was in favor of divesting Chrome, which is the key asset here that everyone is looking at. And in this case, I think the ruling clearly states that they're not required to divest Chrome. At the same time, there won't be any exclusive contracts, so that means the Google-Apple thing won't be at least allowed anymore. And then also related to Android, there won't be any like licensing agreements that bar certain companies. So really, I think what it seems like is they are in favor of opening up the platform where other companies can bid, but there is no talk about, Google having to divest any of their assets.
So this is actually way bigger based on the second half of what he said. One, this is a big W for Google because they're not going through all of this nonsense where, oh, we can lose half of our company and a large bit of their revenue or a third of their company or whatever you want to call Chrome is. Chrome is a huge stake in their actual business. And it was going to have to go on sale. And this started during the Biden administration. And you really want to know why the judge dropped it? You scratch my back, I scratch yours. See, there's been dinner. And a lot of the tech giants and everything have been, let's say, some people want to say bending the knee. Some people were going to say working with, which they should work with them to a degree, I believe. But I'm definitely sure due to the relationship that this new administration has with these tech CEOs compared to the last one is one of the reasons why this got dropped, especially since this lawsuit dropped in the first administration's sake. Mind you, most people do use Google Chrome, but here's what kind of inflated the numbers part of the monopoly, and that's what he said right there, the exclusive contract licensing. And he brought up Apple and Android for a certain reason, right? This is the reason why. Before they get all into it and stuff, I'm going to just let you guys know. First reason, Safari. We've been talking about this for the longest. Apple wanted to move away from Google and Chrome, from Safari using their engine and this, and that, and the third. And it looks like they're finally going to be able to do that. Well, they're going to be able to work with Google in other aspects. They wanted to move off of them anyways, but Safari and Apple had a licensing agreement for Safari to use their search engine to an extent and for Chrome to basically be implemented in a kind of way into Safari. So Apple just needed to create the shell of it, and then the whole inner and the nucleus was Chrome, right? So that was the first licensing agreement. The next one he's talking about, which is even bigger, what do you notice on every Android phone? Google. Whenever you search on any Android phone, you see a Google search thing. That is the search engine. There's nothing else for any other search engine on any other phone. This propelled on the mobile device space, Google Chrome being the most used engine out of everywhere because it goes beyond PCs and laptops. More people use their cellular devices over their actual computers, their laptops, all of the other stuff. So if everybody, even if Apple, for one, Apple has a monopoly, I believe, for iPhones in the US. More than half people in the US own an iPhone or some type of Apple product like an iPad or something like that. They all have Safari. Note that. Two, everybody else who has an Android, whether they have a Google Pixel or any other Android, they all use Google. So these licensing agreements that Google had with all of these mobile devices are now they're now null and void. They're no longer valid to where that these companies, other companies and phone carriers and stuff like that have to stick with Google. They can branch out if they wanted to branch out to induce some more competition on other browsers and everything. Note, most of these places might still stick with Google. And if they decide to do that, that's fine. But this is the reason why what he just said right there is even bigger, because they are not going to sit here and break it down exactly like that.
Amazing, Google can go up 6% just like that, like it's a small cap. I mean, that's how powerful these stocks are. We talked to Anurag earlier about the other things Google owns, like YouTube would be like the 20th biggest stock if it were spun off. Could they go after other parts of Google in an antitrust way?
Not really. There were two big lawsuits. One was the monopoly lawsuit, where Chrome was the big asset that everyone was focused on. And look, the reason why you're seeing a 5-6% move is because when it comes to Chrome, you know, over 3 billion monthly active users, AI agents, and everything that's going on in Gen AI, browser is the most important asset. So if they were restricted in some way, I mean, that would really hurt Alphabet's position in Gen AI. So from that perspective, it did warrant a big move like this.
And Mandeep, we have about a minute left. We're talking about Alphabet, but take a look at shares of Apple, up about 3.7% in the after-hours trade as well. What can we extrapolate from this ruling into Apple?
So look, I mean, clearly the agreement that Apple had with Google is at least not allowed anymore, or that's what the ruling suggests. But Apple is looking to use someone else's model. So, you know, from that perspective, probably they could use Gemini or something related to Google to catch up to other companies when it comes to incorporating Gen AI. So from that perspective.
And that's incorporating Gen AI into Siri, and also including models into Safari. Apple's looking at that in two different aspects. So now if they don't have to worry about, maybe they were like, hey, we want to divest from Chrome because they're going through this lawsuit and open it up. Hey, they could still maybe get Gemini on Safari. Who knows? Because Apple doesn't have their own yet, and they're working on one, as we've reported on this channel and stuff. But they don't right now. That's why Apple goes up, but they act like the 6% thing is such a huge jump. And the reason why they kind of say that, they don't go back and say, hey, when this lawsuit first took place, this is the percentage that Google went down. Mind you, Google still had growth over time, but there was impacts when the lawsuit first came that impacted them negatively. This could be a correction in a sense of why that growth was the way it was, and their stock and everything. But this was a huge win, and they even bring up this win in the dinner that I'm going to cover later, that with all the tech CEOs and AI and everything had. We're going to cover that, and Trump brought it up in that dinner as well too, and that's why I said that it most likely was a scratch my back, I'll scratch yours situation, due to the relationships that these CEOs all have with the current administration and everything. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I really appreciate everybody and everybody who sticks around. It really means a lot. Let me know how you feel in the comments. If you have any suggestions, send me an email at devtalkspod@gmail.com. Without further ado, peace. See you next time.